Today, we tell you the real reason why the Hornets need Cooper Flagg, an evaluation on Charles Lee. Should he have gotten more technical fouls this year? And then we'll take a look at the mock draft. What are traditions unlike any other for the Hornets in the spirit of Master Season? That's all today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. You can also find him hosting Locked On NBA with Matt Moore and Hayes. I'm Walker Mehl. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. This episode is brought to you by Game Time, baby. Game time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Plus, we have a newsletter, the Locked On Hornets newsletter, the daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now, LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Hornets newsletter. We want Cooper Flagg around here. We went through some of the worst feelings yesterday on Weston Walker with the Hornets having not gotten the first overall pick. Because when the Hornets get the second overall pick, Doug, it is usually in a draft where there is clearly a prized possession. That's how it goes, right? When Shaquille O'Neal is eligible to be drafted, the Magic will get the first overall pick. The Hornets will be drafting second. Dwight Howard, he goes number 1. Just entered the Hall of Fame over the weekend. Emeka Okafor is number 2. We know about Anthony Davis. We also know about Victor Wembanyama. The Hornets had the second pick in all of those generational type talents. Every single one of those first overall selections, immediate Hall of Famers, like first ballot, don't have to think about it, or just among the best players of all time. There is a prized possession here, Doug. Cooper Flagg is the guy. I don't know where you compare him on the Shaq or Wemby or whatever, but we know that he is a prized possession, clearly one of one in this draft. But can you tell us the real reason why the Hornets need Cooper Flagg today?
Yes, so it has nothing to do with his scoring prowess. It has nothing to do with his ability to block shots and be a helper on defense, be just a straight-up man-to-man defender. All of that would be great for the Hornets. But I think it's his ability to drive belief in this franchise to invest immediately in this roster. Because I think if they don't get Cooper Flagg, we are going to be in for more years of tanking, more years in the wilderness, because we don't have an ownership group. The Hornets don't have an ownership group that's like the Phoenix Suns or the LA Clippers or some of these other, they're not really ownership groups. They're single owners who have a lot of capital to invest in their team. And sometimes that goes right and sometimes that goes wrong, as it has in Phoenix. But at least those fans know that their owners are going to invest in trying to put a playoff team on the floor sooner rather than later. With the Hornets, it's still a big question mark. Will this ownership group have the capital and the willingness to get out the checkbook and put players around this team? They weren't in year one, and I think a lot of that has to do with them thinking of this season as an evaluation season, and I think a lot of that has to do with a lack of belief in the health of LaMelo Ball and his ability to drive playoff results, only because they have not seen that yet with the 2 play-in losses. With bringing Cooper Flagg in via the draft, I think that resets all the expectations, and suddenly I would hope that the motivation would be, let's get Cooper Flagg to a postseason as quickly as possible, because when you look at it, these players that have been generational talents, whether it's Giannis, LeBron, I mean, all of these guys got to the postseason very quickly, partly because they drove those results, but also because the team decided to invest a little bit in them. LeBron, it took a little bit longer. He drugged that very bad Cavs team to the playoffs for a few years, but they got there quickly. It wasn't 4 or 5 years later after being drafted. So to me, that's the most important reason that the Hornets need Cooper Flagg because it would reset expectations, in that it would actually give expectations to the Hornets and this organization, and it would cause them to go out and invest.
Yeah, and you think this new regime didn't do that because, in part, of LaMelo Ball not being able to lead this team? Is that what you were saying?
Well, in part because of the injuries the past couple of seasons and wanting to evaluate things and figure out who's in, who's out, who's really about it. You got a new coach in Charles Lee. I understood why they didn't this season.
Yeah.
But I less understand why Mitch Kupchak and Michael Jordan didn't do it as soon as you knew that LaMelo was a special talent. I think that was the time when you should have been investing in veteran talent and getting this team to the playoffs as soon as possible. They tried to do that a little bit with, you had Hayward, you had Rozier, you brought in Kelly Oubre, but I thought they still could have done more to reset year to year to get this team back to the postseason as quickly as possible, and they didn't do it. And I hope that this new organization, if they got Cooper Flagg, would do it. I'm less sure if it's Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey. I think they still go into that mentality of, well, let's keep working through the draft and see what happens and see if we strike gold and accidentally make a postseason, and then, we'll move forward.
That makes sense. They went mid early with LaMelo. So they bring in Gordon Hayward. Remember, that was LaMelo's rookie season. And because of the way that COVID shifted everything, the NBA draft was held so late, and then the season started so early after LaMelo was drafted. And so I think part of the thinking on the Hornets process after going to get Gordon Hayward and paying him quite a bit of money, it's to pair him alongside LaMelo. And so it actually made sense. There was actually some backing of LaMelo very early on, and then they just didn't go any further than that. That was it.
Right.
That's where they stopped. And so it was like, oh, okay. I was one that did not like the deal at all when it happened with Gordon Hayward. But I could respect the decision to try to bring some more talent around a guy that's super fun passing the basketball. And then the shooting was kind of iffy with LaMelo coming in to just downright not very good. But LaMelo clearly became a really good shooter, and there were some numbers to suggest that maybe we were overlooking stuff. Either way, I like the decision early for them. And then you're right, they never did enough. I think Cooper Flagg would be the type of profile, would be the type of sure thing prospect to where they would operate on a pretty quick timeline. Even if you needed 1 year of evaluation to see what to do with Cooper in his rookie season, like I could even give you some time there. And I think most of the Hornets fans would give you some time because we just had the good thing happen to us. We just got Cooper Flagg. So we're going to be not crazy patient. We've been patient long enough. But if you got Cooper, then that would be one of the ultimate goals that we've never reached before here. Like since 1991 when they drafted Larry Johnson. That's the last time that we had a number 1 overall pick. So yeah, if you get Cooper, you play Cooper alongside whoever you decide to roll with next year. You got some tough decisions to make with LaMelo, Mark. Maybe it's not so tough in your eyes. I don't know, but you at least have decisions to make, and then you can figure it out from there. But I'm with you. Just the belief that we've talked about this, man. It's not even more so, oh, he's a bona fide 20-point per game scorer as soon as he steps on an NBA court. It's not that he's an immediate 5 assists per game type of guy as soon as he steps on an NBA court. It's that he does everything. Everything you ask him to do, he's good at. If you look at some of these draft profiles, some respected draft analysts will tell you, I'm telling you right now, there's not a statistical weakness with him. In terms of just flat out being bad in one area, there is not a statistical weakness. It does not mean that it won't happen his first year. I'm sure he's going to be bad at something, multiple things his rookie year, because that's what happens with NBA rookies. But on a Final Four team where he was the leader, and even in the game they got ousted, he scored 27 points. There's not a statistical weakness. So it would give everybody all the belief in the world. It's why we want him pretty bad. And for some reason, I don't know if you get this feeling, knock on wood, I'm knocking, baby. I should learn more. I should be better, but I'm sick, and this is the sickness. It feels like there's a shot. It feels like there's a shot.
Oh, you're 14%. I love it. The hope, the sickness. It is starting. It is. You look. You've got bags under your eyes. You need a towel on your forehead.
Yeah, 107. It's high. It's high. I need to go to the hospital. I'm so sick. But it feels like there's a shot. And I think that's what's going to hurt people most if they don't get him.
Well, think about what the Pelicans did when the Pelicans got. I think I'm correct on this, on the timing of this. When the Pelicans got Zion Williamson, that July, they went out and made a huge deal with the Lakers to get Ingram, Ball, and Josh Hart. Like that, immediately they felt the belief. They were like, we have a generational talent, and you know, maybe you're listening to this and you don't feel like Cooper is at that level. And I would say, you know, go and watch a few more of those Duke games. He's really good. He doesn't have some of the same tools, some of the same freakiness that Zion had or that Victor has, but he is going to change whatever franchise, the trajectory of it in some way, in some measurable way. And I would say maybe even some more responsible long-term ways than Zion has with the Pelicans. But he will instill that same level of belief in a small market franchise in the same way that Zion did, that forced the Pelicans to say, okay, we've got to get serious immediately. Let's go to the Lakers and let's find a way to get some of this talent here to surround him with that so that you don't waste years. I feel like they wasted too many years for LaMelo. Maybe the injury still would have happened. It's all sort of Jeff Goldblum, Jurassic Park chaos theory stuff. But I just regret how much they wasted time that with when you had LaMelo Ball, a potential all-NBA player. So I hope they don't do that with Cooper. I don't think they would. That's the most important reason why they need Cooper Flagg.
Injuries, they find a way. Injuries find a way. I think to put it simply, Cooper Flagg represents change, which is what fans have wanted here for quite some time. And it feels like expected change, not hope with the change. And I think that's what Cooper Flagg brings when he's drafted number 1.
I'll put it in baseball terms because that's how Schlotkin likes to communicate this stuff. It would take you, if you get Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe, it takes you from the second inning, 3 up, 3 down. Now you're into the third inning.
If you give me some baseball.
Yeah, if you get Cooper Flagg, we're sailing past the 7th inning stretch. We're into the 8th inning. We're not quite into the 9th inning, bottom 9. You know, you're ready to really go out there and get your pinch hitter to, you know, go win this ball game. But you're in the 8th inning where you're starting to make a little bit of moves and try to get this thing. So that's what I think it would cause.
Oh, you're stretching this single into a double, baby. 100%. You're going to 2. That first base coach is telling you, put on the burners, go to second base. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
We're going to the second segment. Thank you, first base coach. God, we're down bad with this Cooper stuff. Listen to that first segment. We want him. We want him really, really bad. Charles Lee, I know he wants him bad. We know Charles Lee is coming back for another year. How do we feel like he's going to do in his second season? Plus, do we want more technical fouls? Do we want more defense of his star players like LaMelo, who is the star player on the roster right now? That's still to come, LOH. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save, thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you can score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during this regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So it can happen the next day again from noon to midnight. You can get 50% off your order with a Dash Pass. You could have a game day feast. You could go with the late night cravings that Dash Pass has to offer, lunch on the go, or you could fuel your watch party. If you're planning to catch the next game, order your go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. But you got to get in on it quick because the regular season, it doesn't last too much longer. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Charles Lee, first year, Not a lot of technicals. We were begging for one after LaMelo kept getting fouled, not getting any calls. Then he'd get frustrated, and then LaMelo would get called for a foul, and we would understand it because he was just getting mugged out there every time he stepped out on the court for a certain period of time. After it felt like he was getting a little more respect at the beginning of the season when he was executing like a star, perhaps not so much of a coincidence. When he was playing as well as he was at the beginning of the year, it felt like he was getting more of those calls. Not all the time, but it was better than years past. Then in the second half, post-All-Star break, really post-Lakers game, it started to get real bad again, and we had those thoughts about Charles Lee. I know you have an interesting exchange between Kenny Atkinson and one of his players, and I know you have some thoughts on this Charles Lee stuff. Give it to the people. What kind of takes you got?
Yeah, so we talked about this before, but I wanted to bring this back up because my morning routine includes perusing NBA headlines and things that have happened on Hoops Hype. And, I go to all these websites that have quotes from players and coaches. And I found this interesting bit here from Kenny Atkinson, almost head coach of the Charlotte Hornets, if you want to remember that. If you don't, that's fine. I understand.
We don't. He was coach, and then he wasn't anymore.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, now he's head coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers, who clinched the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And in Game 79, he got ejected after 2 straight technical fouls. And he said this, and the second one was, or I guess both of them were because of a non-call against Tristan Thompson. And Atkinson said, quote, "I don't regret that one. I had to have Tristan's back on that blatant foul against him that led to my ejection. 14 years in the league, an NBA champion. He deserves more respect than that. I couldn't let that one go. No way." Tristan Thompson said, quote, "I appreciate it. I was like, K.A., you really got my back. You really bleep with me. That's dope. I would run through a brick wall for him too. This is a basketball guy who gets it. I'm going to rock with him. He's one of us." And then Ty Jerome, one of the other role players on the Cavs, said this, quote, "It shows that he takes everyone seriously. No shade on anywhere else I've been, but a lot of coaches, when you have a group out there together that hasn't played much, for a coach to be that involved in the game and care that much, he's not taking it lightly. He means what he preaches," unquote. I think it was an important ejection for Atkinson, who is trying to rally his B team that was playing out there. They're resting the starters, but you got to get those depth pieces engaged, ready to go for the postseason. So if their number is called, they're ready to go. And Atkinson realizes that and gets ejected from this game, arguing what should have been a call on Tristan Thompson. It made me think of the conversations that we've had around Charles Lee, whether he should be more active with the officials, because he's generally been a positive guy on the podium, even in the real bad depths of this season. He has not shown a lot of frustration. Some stuff that we saw from Borrego late in his Hornets career, some stuff that we saw early, middle, and late from Steve Clifford. He's not been that guy. And so if I were to offer a mild defense of Charles Lee, because I do believe that he should have had more technicals. I think he should have gotten thrown out in some of these games where it was particularly bad against LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges and others. But here's my mild defense. If you're Charles Lee and you've got a young team and you're coming in and you're trying to change the culture and you're saying, you're preaching a lot of discipline. You're preaching a lot of everything matters. And particularly with LaMelo Ball early, he was trying to keep him out of foul trouble, keep him in the game, engaged in the game. I think it would be a little bit of mixed messaging if you were to then get yourself removed from the game, if you were then to show a lack of discipline on your part. Would it send mixed signals? Maybe that's what's going through his mind. I'm going to show discipline in year 1. Maybe things change. If expectations change, maybe things change in year 2. But year 1, I'm going to set the example and say, we got to keep our heads. We got to keep our cool. We have to stay in the game.
All that's understandable, and it makes sense. It's almost like this is your first year as a coach. You don't want to dive all the way into the deep end. Let's go down the steps into the shallow end of the pool, get your feet wet a little bit before then we really start to demand respect around here. Maybe Charles Lee doesn't feel like he's accomplished enough as a head coach because this is his first season. and that he can't go after the officials like a Steve Kerr can in a same game where I thought Charles should have gotten a technical. Even Kenny Atkinson, he has experience coaching in this league even before having coached Cleveland. He did a great job with Brooklyn all those years ago and then was on some big boy teams, like having been an assistant with Golden State. So maybe he understands the lay of the land a little bit more on when to pull that trigger and when not to. So it's completely understandable. I got frustrated big time when LaMelo was getting mugged out there and Charles would fight for his player, and it just wouldn't go much further than that. And then LaMelo would still be officiated the same way. I wanted him to have an impact on how the game was officiated, and I don't think that was happening. Now, from what I can tell, it's really hard to find this stat. I don't know if there's somebody out there that knows how to find this, but I was looking up coach technicals this year, and I could find like a top 5 list for the most, but I couldn't find what every NBA head coach had gotten this year. I think Charles has gotten 2 technicals. He got one in November against the Celtics, and then Derek White, I believe, after the game said, I congratulated Charles Lee for getting his first technical. So he had one early in November. I believe he had one in December as well, maybe late December. I don't know what game, but I did some Twitter research. So I think he had 2. So you went the entire year, once the calendar turned to 2025, of not getting one. And it was more of a defensive LaMelo Ball technical that we were asking for. Everything you said, it all makes sense. It doesn't mean that Charles Lee's a bad coach or anything like that. It just means I disagreed with what he did in those moments. I can't get out of my head being live in the arena for Golden State, Draymond grabbing LaMelo's jersey right in front of Charles Lee so LaMelo can't go off of a screen. And Charles like, do you see this? What's going on? He clearly gets animated for a while. The official does nothing. Charles gets really frustrated. He goes back to coaching. That's all fair. I think clearly he's shown a supportive LaMelo. He wears the LaMelo merchandise. I mean, he wears the shoes. He wears the jackets. That's actually really cool. I love that he does that. Like, clearly, there's no question that Charles Lee supports LaMelo. I think there's not any downside to getting 1 or 2 more to have an impact on how the game is officiated, and you get to go to the podium and say what Kenny Atkinson said. You get to go to the podium and you get to tell all the world, I got my players back. I got my players back in a real way, and we're not going to tolerate that anymore. And that didn't happen. So maybe second year, he gets more tired of it with LaMelo on his roster, and it drives him to get that. But yeah, those were some of the moments that I got frustrated earlier, and everything you said also makes perfect sense with him just getting his feet wet. It's his first year, man. First year, totally understand.
Yeah, to me, this would be a major problem if we had seen any other hints of players feeling like that coach didn't have their back or that they weren't supported, but we just saw none of that. In fact, I think you can look at the video of Taj Gibson getting the game ball for his 1,000th game and how all those players came together and his speech in the locker room and the reaction from the players to the speech. And, you know, again, I'm not like a body language expert, but I just think like generally that locker room looks together. And there are plenty of examples from Sacramento to Philly where you've got a lot of teams that weren't together. Here's the big difference between Philly, Sacramento, and Hornets, though, and this is where I would take the conversation into year 2, particularly if they get Cooper Flagg, is that everything is different when there are expectations on your team. When you go into the season thinking, we're just kind of evaluating, we're figuring this thing out, we're all in this together, let's stay together, that's fine. When you're like, hey, we've got to make the playoffs or half the team's getting traded, coach is getting fired, the expectations are way different now. That's when the pressure cooker starts to build, and that's when you have to have a coach that's ready to go to bat for the players in all instances when you can't see it and when you can see it. So I hope next season those expectations are better set, and I hope that he's ready to go to war for LaMelo Ball, for Cooper Flagg, for whoever is on this team, starring on this team. You go to war for that player, and if that means you got to get tossed from a game or 2, well, that's what it means.
Last thing, clearly passionate as well. When you think technical, it's like, oh, he's just stoic over there on the sideline. Not the case. In fact, if you watch Charles Lee throughout the course of a game, he's jumping up and down.
He's in the defensive stance. He's ready to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's defending right alongside whoever is picking up ball. That's what Charles Lee does. So there's no question of passion. There's no question of lack of support. It's all, hey, I think this could be fixed. I think there could be more attention on this issue that has been consistent all throughout LaMelo's career, but especially in an egregious manner over a 2-3 week stretch of this season. As the season dwindled down, it's time to press that button. But Charles Lee, I rock with Charles, and so do the players, which is what ultimately matters, is that the players rock with Charles Lee. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
It's mock draft time. We are almost a quarter past our journey to the NBA draft and through the end of all of the mock drafts that Doug is going to go through. And then because the Masters is going on right now, we'll tell you what are some Charlotte Hornets traditions unlike any other. So there's some pain coming. I apologize. We brought it to the third segment for a reason. That's still to come, LOH. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game time? There's nothing like the energy of a live game, whether it's catching a last-minute MLB showdown or soaking in the excitement of an NBA matchup. But finding great seats at a great price, that used to be a challenge until I found Game Time. Game Time makes scoring last-minute tickets easier than ever. Prices actually drop as the event gets closer, and with their all-in pricing, you see the total cost up front, no surprises at checkout. Here's why I love using Game Time. You get last-minute deals. You could save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. It's not really even just sporting events. You can grab last minute seats for a big game coming up, maybe the last game of the Hornets season. Maybe you missed out on the last home game for the Hornets. You could have gotten one maybe with Game Time. You get peace of mind as well with seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Their lowest price guarantee means you never have to worry about overpaying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Traditions or mock draft first? You tell me, since you're the keeper of the mock draft.
Oh, let's do, we can do the mock draft really quick. We actually got a new one from ESPN. Let me get it pulled up here. The great team over there, Gavoni.
Yeah, they had, this is a 2-rounder then. I thought about sending it to you, but I'm sure in your radar of mock drafts that drop all across the universe. I know, but it was a 2-rounder. I wanted to make sure we got to a 2-rounder today.
Let me do the draft simulator first. Just keep tradition alive here. We actually went to number 1 in the last episode, so hopefully we'll have some luck again. Beep, bop, boop, bop, beep. Oh, look at that. Climbed up 2 spots, 2 in a row, baby. I'm telling you, we're telegraphing this, folks. The Hornets jumped 2 spots. They're getting Cooper Flagg, 6'9", freshman, 205 pounds, out of Duke.
It's real. Okay, so Cooper Flagg at number 1. But if you're bringing up the ESPN mock draft, did you want to reveal what the second-round picks might be? 2, by the way, 2 early second-round picks, which is kind of interesting with some of the players available in that spot. I like quite a few players early on in the second round.
Just real quick, though, with the 3rd overall selection, the Charlotte Hornets take Arius Ace Bailey out of Rutgers. I like ESPN dropping the Arius in there to let us know his first name. And then in the second round, scrolling, the Charlotte Hornets with the 33rd pick are taking Ryan Kalkbrenner, the center out of Creighton, and they list him as a super senior. So I'm going to assume that means that he's like some kind of mutant senior, that he has superpowers, maybe laser eyes, perhaps 4 arms. I'm not sure.
He played like it. He's one of those amazing college basketball players for a very long time. It's just that he was never going to be a top 14 pick. And so there's never really any reason to leave college. Instead, I'll just stay and I'll dominate every single season I'm here. He's a good player. He can shoot some threes. He, I believe, had a really nice block percentage. If you look at him defensively, he's been very good at Creighton too. Some really impressive numbers, like some all-time Creighton basketball player type stuff. So if you go Doug McDermott, you go Kyle Korver, I think Ryan
wow.
Kalkbrenner is somewhere at the top of Mount Rushmore when it comes to Creighton basketball.
And hey, I don't see attempts on here, but 34% from three. I like that.
Yeah.
The free throw percentage, 68. That's not great, but it has been good before.
Not
2 years
terrible.
ago, it was 79.5. 19 points per game, 34 minutes. He's a minutes eater, 65% from the field, almost 9 rebounds. And you're right, the blocks, crazy. 2.7 blocks this season, 3.1. Last season for is it Kalkbrenner? What are we doing here?
I think it's Kalkbrenner, but I'm not sure.
We'll figure it out. Alex Caravan, the power forward from Connecticut, that will make friend of the show Nick Carboni very happy. He's a Husky.
Remember, Caravan almost entered the NBA draft last year, and he goes back, and UConn had a down regular season, and then in the tournament, they actually played Florida really, really close, but eventually the Gators would move on in the second round. But remember, Caravan was expected to be a first-round pick last season, and he comes back, and now because it's a much deeper NBA draft class, he falls all the way to the early part of the second round. But accomplished player, I think a part of both of those championship teams up in Stores. Good shooter. I haven't seen some of the stats for him this year. A lot of this is just going off of what happened last year or 2 years ago. So not exactly sure as to why there is such a fall, except for that it's a much deeper draft class. But I like him. And then in that mock draft, I also saw Maxime Reynaud from Stanford go a selection after where the Hornets were picking. You and I have already dabbled in the Reynaud waters, but he's fun. He's really fun for a big guy that's really skilled and can dribble and shoots it from distance. You have Kalkbrenner, you got Reynaud, like for some specialist big man type stuff. Man, early second round picks that the Hornets have are exciting to me. That's going to be a fun part.
Yeah, I'd like to see those picks combined and moved either into the late first round if they fall in love or just for later draft assets. I think you can turn both of those picks into more future draft assets. Pull a Presti. I think a little Presto Presti. I think the Hornets can do that. Peterson, I believe in you. I think you can take those second round picks and make them more than what they currently are. But if you do take someone there, I just want somebody fun. I want if you're going to draft in the second round, I want that player to be fun. They don't necessarily have to have the gaudy stats. That's why they're in the second round. But I just want them to do something fun.
Well, they'd got some fun big guys. By the way, Caravan efficiency kind of tanked this year. More volume, more responsibility. The efficiency went down, but great efficiency the first 2 years at UConn when he was playing a role that was better suited for him. Traditions unlike any other. The Masters going on at Augusta right now. And so what are some Hornets traditions unlike any other? You feel positive things when you think about the Masters and traditions. Maybe not so much with the Hornets. Doug, you want to lead us off with a Hornets tradition unlike any other?
Well, this one goes back to Rich Cho. I mean, I don't know that I have any from the pre-Bobcats era or really any from the Bobcats era. This one goes back to Cho, and that's the organization telling us they are building something sustainable 23 years after the Hornets last won a playoff series. It's just owners change, general managers change, entire rosters change. But one thing never changes is that the Hornets are still committed to building something sustainable. I would just like you to build something that wins, build something that gets to the playoffs. That's what I would like.
What about a practice facility? Does that count?
It will be. I hope it's sustainable. I mean, I hope they're building sustainably. I hope that that they're doing things to help ward off climate change. But just in terms of the basketball, I would like that. I don't care if it's sustainable. That's where they keep saying the word sustainable as if fans are going, yeah, that sounds pretty good. I like that. I like sustain. No, the fans are so thirsty at this point. It's like telling someone dying of thirst, I could give you this bottle of water right now, but we're working on a whole case in the back. Just wait till the case is done. Then you can have water for weeks. It's like, no, I'm dying. I need water right now.
We're building a well. Just wait. And then you can have all the water in the world. Yeah, we just got to get to the aqueduct.
Throw me down the well. I'm dying. It doesn't matter. Just give me the water.
We're all in a well. We're stuck. Little Timmy, we're little Timmy, and we're stuck in a well. This one comes in from Rod when we mentioned this tweet just last week or a little over a week ago. I'll just go ahead and drop it again. A Hornets tradition, unlike any other, is when you listen to your favorite podcast, making it your first listen, Locked On Hornets, and that you listen every year, and then you listen to them slowly unravel from the hope of opening day to tanking debates. and the eventual draft lottery disappointment. A tradition unlike any other. Thank you, Rod, for mentioning that.
That's a good one.
I got another one. You want me to go with another one?
Yeah, you go for another one. I'm trying to think of something. I want to end with something positive, so I'm racking my brain while you talk about this.
This one's not positive, so let me go. So this one, it reminds me of Josh Lloyd, Locked On Fantasy Basketball host, who does a team preview every year, right? And does a great job. I mean, he's the best. Josh asked us at the end of every single preview we've ever done, okay, here is the Hornets' projected win total. Are you taking the over or the under? And every year, I take the over. And I know I'm taking the over. And I don't want to take the over. But I always fall in this trap of, well, if injuries break the Hornets' way finally, then the Hornets are going to win more games. And then I see a guy like Zach Lowe say, yeah, watch out for the Hornets. I'm going to take the over on their projected win total. But then I see Andy Bailey tweet out, I would just like one Locked On host ever to take the under on their team's projected win total. And I just can't do it. So a tradition unlike any other for me is going over on the projected Hornets win total and then losing that bet by late February. Every single year, a tradition unlike any other.
On that same line, debating how many wins the injured list could get and then getting really sad. That happens to us every year. We look at the injury list. We go, that team could probably win 37 games. I'm pretty sure. And then crying.
Yeah.
Positive. Getting really excited about 10-day guys, getting really excited about these guys that come in on two-way contracts. I think the Hornets, the sickos, they do stay remarkably engaged. I know this because I'm chatting with them on every Hornets box score and in the subtext line. Like, people stay, the true fans stay remarkably engaged to this team. And I think, hey, Hornets organization, you should probably take advantage of that by trying to put a winning team in Charlotte ASAP.
Yeah, merchandise that they put out every single year, always
Fire.
really cool. They've done some great stuff this year. I hate doing it. It sounds like I'm saying this sarcastically. I'm really not. The merchandise is very cool that they're putting out there, but there's just not a lot of positive in terms of traditions on the court that we enjoy seeing from this squad.
Oh, I know a good one, and we're about to start it again. Who wore it best? The Locked On Hornets podcast never finishing their games like who wore it best. We're going into year 3. We are going to finish it. I mean, we have like 10 left. There's no possible way we can go through this whole offseason and not finish who wore it best.
But what's also great is that we're going to create another game, and we won't finish it until 2027. It's going to happen. Happens every single year for Locked On Hornets. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your podcast. That includes YouTube. Have a great weekend. Monday, I expect a big show. So Monday and Tuesday. So the beginning of next week, the season is going to end this weekend. We'll have the game against the Celtics tonight, and then we'll have another game against the Celtics on Sunday. I expect Hornets exit day to be Monday. They haven't announced it, but this is how it usually happens. They usually host media exit day after the season is over with, the day after. So I expect that to happen at the Spectrum Center Monday. I'm going to be out there and hopefully interviewing Mark, Brandon Miller. We'll see who we end up interviewing. I expect Jeff Peterson. Knock on wood. I expect to be talking to Jeff, so that'll be great. We'll break down all those comments. We'll ask maybe because we're going to record Sunday night, right? And then we're going to put that out there on Monday before exit day, you would say? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
And then we can break down what happens on Monday. So anyways, big time shows at the beginning of next week. So hopefully you tune in, make us your first listen, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, subscribe to us, all that stuff, and make sure you catch all that content. Have a great weekend. Again, we'll be back with you Monday.